Quick story. When I see this truck drivers who are as young as 18, it reminds me when I just bought a new Lexus. I didn't have it for more than 24 hours. I'm trying to make a left-hand turn into somewhere. The next thing you know, my face is just about bouncing off my steering wheel. And I see tennis balls everywhere on the street because I had 150 tennis balls in my trunk to go to tennis. And I realized someone just smoked me and just, rear-ended me at like 40 miles an hour. And get out of the car, and it's probably like a 17-year-old that looks like they know they might be going to jail today. And they were distracted driving. Because if you saw where I was at, to hit me would have been, how do you run into somebody, right? So I started thinking about the average 18-year-old right now with text messaging and social media. It's like, man, are we that short on drivers that we're going to go to 18-year-olds? What do you think of that?
Apparently, right? I mean, how desperate do we have to be to try and close the labor shortage if this is the route?
Yeah, I'm going to get smoked by some kid in a semi truck who's swiping on Tinder. I hope you get a date tonight, right? Like,
You know, I'm sure there's some specific statistic out there, but I feel like the younger generation, less and less are like more are excited to go get their driver's license right at like, now I think the age is like 14 to get your permit. I just feel like people are delaying getting their license. As when I was growing up, I couldn't wait for the day to go get my permit. Now I feel like that has changed and it's not as a big priority, which means are people learning how to drive at a later age. Now there's more distractions. How good of a driver are we as a country versus what we were 10, 20, 30 years ago.
I think there's just a delay to do everything, right? It's, Dennis, you and I were already working at 12 or 13 years old, where kids today don't even get their first job sometimes until they graduate college. We were in a hurry. My father was trying to show me how to drive his stick shift Ford Ranger when I was probably like 13.
Yep.
We're chomping at the bit to get that license, to get the freedom, to just get the hell away from our parents, right? Let's go hang out at Taco Bell. And you're right, you don't see that push as much anymore. It's almost like the kids would rather just take an Uber if they can afford it. So they have a less experienced, driver, and then they're going to go off to trucking school. What concerns me is I'm watching 30, 40-year-old adults who can't even park the big suburban SUVs. Right? Like, we're going to start throwing 18-year-olds into semi-trucks. And, there was that big case in Colorado, where the guy did the runaway down the mountain, and he killed like 4 people, and then they sentenced him to like 1.2 million years in jail or something. And then the governor had to, knock it down to 10 years. But people were saying then that I think the guy was like 25 or 26 years old. And people were even questioning then that, maybe this guy just wasn't experienced enough to be driving a semi truck through the mountains. I mean, what do you think about that?
That speaks to my driving ability, but I don't think I could drive a semi truck through the mountains.
You could.
Well, more seriously, the thing that I was thinking is that aren't there special licenses that you need to get to drive trucks that are like the kind of logistic trucks?
So there's like the CDLs, right?
CDLs, yeah, right.
But I think what we've learned, there was a doctor I was working with that I think to become a doctor, don't you have to, you got to graduate med school, right?
Yeah.
And then you're board certified or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm playing dumb here on purpose. This person actually prescribed me a medicine that I told him was going to interact with another drug I'm on. And then I actually got to the pharmacy and I said that, and they ran it like, yeah, you can't take those two. So I don't have a whole lot of faith in any certification or license anywhere anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get a CDL. I know people. I spent a lot of time on the water that are, quote unquote, they got their captain's license. I don't want to ride with these people on a boat, right? I'm not getting on a vessel with them. It's not happening. So I know you got to meet the certain floor to get a CDL, and there's some really great drivers, but I don't think it automatically means, hey, you passed this test. I mean, let's face it, everyone also has to take a test for a driver's license, right? For a regular driver's license.
Yep.
How many terrible people do you deal with every day on the road?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm reading an article right now, and it's saying that half of the 16-year-olds back in the early 80s had their driver's license. That's down to a quarter of the 16-year-olds getting their license at 16.
but are we not? We delay everything in life. It's how many people are still living at home when they're 25, 26, 28 years old now.
Yeah.
We
That's a
delay.
crazy shit.
It's crazy where I said one day when I have kids, it's going to be on my plan where it's like I was working jobs at 13 years old. It's like you're trying to progress towards becoming an adult and maturing as fast as possible. We are now delaying that as much as possible, which is, we're just going to wait around for everything to just be done for us. A robot's going to do this, and the driverless car is going to show up, and this is just a stopgap until they can get the self-driving semi trucks,
Yeah.
which I think we're a little ways away from, but this is something we're going to have to solve.
Even opening it up down to the 18, I mean, you'd think that would be a larger pool, but it doesn't seem to be that way.
Well, it's not, because I'll give you two stories right now. In my own county, we have an issue. I'm on a dirt road, so I rely on the county to come through and grade these roads. They were on the news not too long ago saying that they lost 30% of their staff because and used to have a CDL. They actually got rid of the CDL requirement to drive the trucks that put down the salt and stuff. There was so much money getting paid for truck drivers, the long haul, that they lost 30% of their staff. So now there's a shortage in the county to drive the salt trucks and the plows and everything. And then if that wage goes back down, then you're going to say, truck drivers make the low side 40, 50K, but you're on the road a lot. Do you want to do that? Or do you want to go work at Amazon and get healthcare benefits, guaranteed income, and probably get your college paid for? What do we do?
Yeah. I think that makes, sorry, James, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It was, because I was going to say, you make a really good point, because I think this is an acknowledgement from the government that supply chain, transportation, logistics, it's crucial to make sure that that's staffed at a level where at least the economy can run within the country. But as you said, Dennis, I don't think that lowering the age to 18 does anything, because does it mean that the 18 to however it was old before, 21, 24, who knows? But does it actually do anything to impact the number of workers or the labor shortage? I don't know. But this, I think, is a signal, and because Australia is doing the similar thing, that the economy can't really run without the proper logistics structure in place.
Right. It's just, they're going to run into the same problem that manufacturing has with making it appealing for folks to go into manufacturing and to become truck drivers. I mean, what is going to be the marketing campaign to get younger folks thinking about becoming truck drivers? That is going to be a large hurdle.
This is just not going to go away. Like, I think, Dennis, you were probably both on LinkedIn when I made that post, but the people on LinkedIn that often complain they can't find a job and they can't pay out their school loan, I'll go trolling. It's truthful, but I go trolling and say, hey, get a job in sales. We can make good money in sales and pay off your school loans, or the world needs CNC programmers or welders. And one time I said, there's a shortage of truck drivers. And then I got lit up by many of these early 20-somethings saying it's It's a crappy job. It's a dirty job. It's a passionless job. That job has no purpose. You know how many times I've heard this job has no purpose? And I'm like, well, when the toilet paper doesn't show up to your Costco, you're going to realize how much of a purpose that truck driver has, right?
Yep.
But I got lit up by people saying how terrible their jobs they are. But I'm like, you're sitting at home right now, making no money an hour, complaining about you can't pay your school loan. So even when you're making no money and your bills are stacking up against the wall, and the government's about to start, whatever check you do get, they're about to start taking money out of it, you still don't want to become a truck driver. So I don't know if lowering this age is really going to be a fix. Because even if you get a taste of this job, then you're still going to go, I'll just go work at Amazon, right? Unless these jobs start paying $75,000, $80,000 plus, not because of the skill so much, but because it's just not a great job. Now, Dennis, you deal with supply chain and logistics recruiting all day. How well does high salaries match up in that margin business?
It does not.
And
it's their biggest problem, and I'm sure there's a few that are great at doing the job, but it's such a low margin business that they struggle opening up a budget for higher paid salaried workers.
Every part of that industry that you see on the transportation and trucking side, logistics and warehousing, they all compete on price, and whoever gets it the cheapest, whoever can do it the cheapest wins. The same problem we have with the race to the bottom everywhere else. But now we have an issue because that same model's not going to work anymore. Now we're going to have to pay transportation more, which logistic costs are going to go up. That's going to trickle down to the price. But this is an industry that didn't operate on a 40% margin, right? They got away with paying truck drivers X amount of cents a mile. That's all going to change. And I think you're going to see the economics of transportation fundamentally shift. Last year, I was trying to ship, now this was midsummer. Now, summer 21, the virus numbers were down pretty low, if you remember. The vaccinations were rolling out. We actually thought for a minute we were going to go back to normal. Even then, I was trying to ship a car out to a speed shop to get some work done. I couldn't find anyone to drive the car out there. So I called the speed shop, and they do this all over the country. They're like, it's probably 3 or 4 weeks for us to find a car transportation service right now. So they had to have someone at the shop drive out to my house and pick the thing up. They've never seen anything like this in all their years, that they couldn't find someone to transport a car. And I'm saying that because I ordered a truck from Ford back in September, which I might get it this year. I don't know. So I'm on the Ford forums looking around trying to say, who else ordered a truck and how long it's taking. Right now, it looks like 5 to 7 months. One of the biggest complaints was there was many trucks sitting in the rail yards for 2 to 4 weeks because they can't find anyone to drive a truck to pick up the Ford truck from the rail yard and bring it to the dealer. That is how short of transportation drivers we are right now.
There was this big sentiment around automation and the robots are going to come take our jobs and stuff. I feel like we're doing it to ourselves. We're just we're enticing companies to invest in automation to fill this, and they're going to realize we did this to ourselves.
I'll believe that AI is going to take over when my phone stops saying Merry Thanksgiving. I don't know if you ever done that, but on my Android and my Apple phone, you start typing it in and it starts doing the word prediction, and I'll type in Merry and then Thanksgiving will pop up. And I'm like, because that's right, you normally say Merry Thanksgiving. Or, you type in the word happy and then Christmas pops up. It's like, Happy Christmas? Happy Thanksgiving. So they can't even get that right just yet. So I think we might be a little ways away before AI takes over.
True.
I do that on purpose now because I started texting people Merry birthday, and then they don't fully get the joke. But
I wonder when we're gonna hit that shift where Many years ago, you had this idea of like going to school, you're going to earn more money because you got a college education. And when that's going to start turning, where the folks that decide not to go to college and get some of these trade skilled jobs or trucking jobs that are going to be way further ahead in life in their 30s than the folks that decided to go to college and just sit around waiting for that passionate job that they're looking for. um, I'm interested to seeing that curve because I think maybe we're at the beginning of that stage, and maybe 10, 15 years down the road, we'll start seeing the folks that decided just to work, take advantage of these open positions and just go to work and make some early investments in their late 20s or early 30s. They're going to be way further ahead than those that spent, $100,000 on an undergrad and not knowing what they want to do in life.
I mean, that's something Kane and I talked about in another episode. But right now, if you just 18 years old and you just go start working it, we'll use Amazon for an example. If you just become that dependable, reliable employee and keep chipping away, you'll eventually become, a supervisor or manager. You'll have the benefits, you'll have the health care. You can probably get them to pay for college. I feel like many of those people that spend 12 years in the workforce from 18 to 30, at 30 years old, it's likely they'll be further ahead than 80% of their peers that went to college. Now, that top 20% that went to college, they went to tech and finance, they're going to go crush it. But that other 80% who goes off to college and never really does anything, in that 12-year period of working at Amazon, you'll probably end up making $700,000 to $800,000 or more with stable employment and healthcare benefits. How do you argue with that?
Yeah.
So I know people that got money, the conversation of their kids going to college has become less and less. They're now looking at and saying, instead of spending 150 grand to send my kids to school, I'm just going to set the 150 aside and help them start their own business. Like you want to go become a doctor, you go to college. You want to become a lawyer, you go to college. You want to become an engineer, you go to college. But if you're not down that path, the wealthy people I know are starting to say, it makes more sense for me to set my kids up in life by helping them build something right from the start versus, 150 grand by the time their kids get to college. And then they're 21, 22 years old and they're still starting at zero. The conversation is definitely shifting. And if you don't have that opportunity to go to college, why not go drive a truck? Why not weld? Why not get into Amazon and just work? This makes like sense to spend $100,000 on a communications degree.
Yeah, true. Can't disagree with that.
I think the one main problem that I think a lot of positions face is that people tend to think about, okay, well, what's the next step? If I become a truck driver, what's the next step for me? And there's no real roadmap for them to do anything beyond driving. I mean, if you're going to be a truck driver, that's probably, unless you start opening up your own logistics company down the road, it's really all you're going to be doing for many years. Now, that's not a bad thing, but I feel like that's the mentality of a lot of the younger folks, is that I need to know, like, if I do this for a year, even though it's still not enough, or 2 years, that I have something else to go do. And unfortunately, that's not the reality in a lot of the jobs that are out there. But for some reason, that's the mentality of the younger generation, I feel like.
I mean, there's two ways to look at that. One, not every job's supposed to go somewhere. I look at it as, I need a job. This job pays my rent and my food and my health insurance and keeps me alive. And I think any job that does that's a good job, because the alternative isn't so fun. But when my father worked at a steel factory, someone he knew there started off just driving a truck for somebody. saved his money. So there's, just to cut myself off, there's two different types of trucking. There's, I work for myself, and you could be an individual truck owner and then bill somebody, or you could work for somebody and drive their truck. This person started off driving someone else's truck, for at the steel company, saved his money up, and then he bought his first truck for himself. So then he started working for himself. So he owns his own rig. Now he's making more money. Saved no money, saved them money. He bought a second truck, and then he found the driver for that second truck. He did this over and over until he had a whole fleet of semi trucks that was, locally moving products around for steel factories. And I remember this, my dad talking about this guy having a 40-foot yacht and, 2 houses. He started off by just doing trucking. But not everyone's going to be that entrepreneurial and say that's the end game. But there is opportunity to turn that into something if you choose to. And if people choose not to, that's no one else's fault.
My mind is spinning because those are two, I think, profound points where we've over glorified careers to where everybody thinks that they deserve, title bumps or whatever every 2 years, every 36 months. And then the second thing is like that entitlement seems to drive the jobs that we choose, which is just insanity. I think there's no guarantee that if you choose social media management is that you're gonna have upward mobility either, right? That was such a good point, and my mind is spinning.
Yeah, because I mean, the problem is that even in our business, we deal with this quite a bit, where everyone's always looking for the next step, and we're constant. I mean, we think about keeping our staff engaged, and it's a very important part of running the business and how we're able to do that and coming up with new ideas. But at the end of the day, the folks that are constantly thinking of like upward mobility, I mean, they got to become really good at what they do before they start thinking about, okay, what's my next step? And it's almost like there's some arrogance behind that they automatically think that they should be getting that next pay bump or that next promotion like so immediate. And I just think the trucking industry is, to entice some of these 18-year-olds, it's going to be challenging. I mean, they're going to have, to me, they'd have to completely think about how they're going to roll this pilot program out in terms of just getting people engaged and then staying in the pilot program, and what does that mean down the road?
Think about this for 1 second. Think about what a luxury it is today to be able to work the same job your whole life. 40 years. Let's just say you start at 20 and you end at 60, right? Or 18 to 65, however you want to slice that up. That is a luxury today. That's what the 50s and 60s used to look like. You could get good at one job and do it for your whole life. You can't even, if you're the same person today as you were last year, right now, you're behind and you're screwed. To have that luxury of saying, I could drive a truck for 40 years and just have stable employment doing the same thing for 4 decades is a luxury now. I know someone that worked on the shop floor at General Motors, basically did the same job for 40 years. Got, cost of living, inflation type of increases. But they also saved their money, and they invested. By the time they were mid-50s, they were a millionaire. By the time they were 65, they had several $1 million. This is someone that didn't go to college, that worked on the shop floor and was just smart with their money. But they had 40 years of stable employment where they weren't laid off. They didn't have big job gaps, just a nice even keel. My bills are paid, my family's taken care of, and they were smart with their money. What is so bad about that story?
Absolutely nothing. And just not having the stress behind what if this happens or what if that happens, and having that stability of having that job for so long is a pretty big deal.
And you look at, Ken and I talked about the career arc now, where you like shoot up, you have this apex around your late 30s, you ride that out for a little bit, early 40s, and then your career falls off. And do you want to be 52 years old wondering where you're going to get money for the next decade until that Social Security check kicks in? Like it's a luxury now to be able to do the same gig for 40 years. Just say, hey, I want to work, I want to contribute to society, I want to make money to pay my bills and put some money away from retirement. And if you're not dumb and you don't blow all your money, you can invest it like this gentleman did. And his retirement's obviously pretty cozy now. We don't like that story because it doesn't keep up with what's going on Instagram. The joke of I deserve 2 nice vacations a year, and if I can't go to Bali, then life is meaningless. It's that $50,000 to $60,000 a year job. No one's interested in that anymore. But that's what's out there. But we'd rather have nothing than do that.
Yeah.
It goes back to the point that Dennis made about the arrogance. I think it's the arrogance that you pull back all the way to the decisions that you make when you're 17, 18. It's a lot of pressure to put on a 17, 18-year-old, but the arrogance to say like, okay, I'm the one person that deserves to be able to make a ridiculous living with a French literature degree, for example. And there's an arrogance in that decision making that I think I'm the one person that can step away from basically what the global economy needs and do it my way. Yeah, such good points.
I don't know.
You can't really blame the kids that are coming out of college
right
and having that mentality, because that's how as universities they encourage that. Go get your education and you deserve to make X amount when you graduate. Go get your master's, you deserve to make X amount when you finish your master's degree. And it's like, well, if they're being told that, and they're being told that for a reason, because if why would you encourage someone to go to school if you're not telling them, okay, down the road you're going to be making X amount of dollars by going through this process, or the system just completely breaks down. So they have to encourage people to go get their education and tell them like, you're entitled to make this amount of money and go, find, the job that you really want to do. And then they get out to the real world and that's not reality sometimes.
All I know is if the Oscar Mayer bacon doesn't show back up at Kroger soon, there's going to be a problem. It's we're gonna melt down here. But the other problem's gonna be you're gonna get this job as a truck driver and you're gonna show up to the train to get your load, and when all the boxes are stolen, you're not gonna have anything to transport.
Yep.
If I don't know if you caught that photo that was out in LA, but we got a lot of issues facing us. This might be a short-term fix, but we'll do it on another episode. But do you think every other industry out there is not also eyeballing 18-year-olds?
Good point.
Right.
From the restaurant industry, there's restaurants in Detroit that's like, we want the new grads as soon as they come out. Let's go. Everybody is. It's not just going to be trucking. So it's whoever's got the least amount of work for the most money is going to win. Unless it starts, $100,000 truck drivers, and that starts changing people's minds, right? I was working like 3 BS jobs when I was 18 years old. If at 18 years old, someone told me I could make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, knowing that going to college was never in the discussion at my family, oh my God, sayonara, I'm done. I'm moving out of the house. I'm driving a truck. I'll figure the rest out later. Because right now I'm working 3 jobs to make like $22,000, right? The opportunity is going to be nice. I just think this is also going to pass a lot of prices on that are going to, push inflation up more. This dirt cheap logistics and transportation days seem like it's over. So.
And this is why we need people to come to our country. Those that want a better life, we have the jobs for them.
You show up here ready to work. There's money to be made right now. You just got to go make it. That's, my father did not give me much in life, but that was his thing. He worked at a steel factory 7 days a week, up at 5:30 every morning without an alarm clock. His only and best advice he ever gave me is it's out there, go get it. And the people that realize that financially, life turns out pretty good for them. It's there. It's there. But anyways, you got something to close on, Kane?
No, I think you guys made excellent points. It's great to hear it.
Well, I'm gonna go hop on the Kroger app and hope my Oscar Mayer bacon's back in stock.
Good luck.
All right. Yeah. All right. I'll catch you.